So, as you can see by the title that I haven't picked yet, actually, I think I did. This is about white supremacy, anti-Blackness, and how it affects me. I want to give an anecdotal perspective of how white supremacy affects me, and anti-Blackness in particular, and the anti-Blackness that fuels it, and the prospect of dealing with that in a society that also benefits and gives power to those people on the advantaged side of the dichotomy, the racial dichotomy. And if you don't know what a racial dichotomy is, it's just, I was going to say what it sounds like, but it probably doesn't sound like much to some people. Yeah, it's any dichotomy represents usually two separate sides, and it's kind of like a binary of one side being advantaged and the other side being disadvantaged perpetually due to one an identifying factor that puts them into those respective categories. So black people and white people would be a good example. Straight people and gay people, Christian people in America and non-Christian people in America, especially people who practice other religions that are associated with other cultures, more especially. So like Islam and Hinduism and Buddhism and things like that. But I go to St. Louis University. I'm a pre-law student, undergraduate, majoring in criminology and criminal justice. I was just inducted into Alpha Phi Sigma's local Gamma Beta chapter, which is the best criminology and criminal justice society in the country. So it's a big deal. I was inducted, and 2 days later, not even honestly, this barrage of craziness ensued that has actually left negative things on my record and left me completely defenseless and with no other recourse but civil litigation. Seeing as this is a private institution and I can't, sue for civil rights abuses at a place that's not a place of public accommodation. So, unfortunately, what happened is I have been in a class with a professor, and we're going to get into the nuances of how even black people play into and non-white people play into anti-blackness and perpetuate this white supremacist system. There's a professor who is the professor of my statistics and criminology class, and his name is Ebel Kiah, I believe is how you pronounce it. And he's been harassing me for a minute, basically putting this insidious motivation over me, this cloud over me, accusing me of doing things to intentionally disrespect him or even to disrespect him at all. I mean, and what I mean by that is it's actually just one thing. And that is me not repeating something that I said that he did not hear. He heard, obviously, he heard something, but he did not understand what I said. So when I declined, what is the word? Repeating what I was reiterating my statement, he took offense to that. Not because he knew what I said and it was so offensive, because it wasn't, but because he didn't like the fact that I took the autonomy to do so. And this is a control problem. This is more of a misogyny issue because I run into this with a lot of men. I actually had to stop dealing with a musical collaborator who I just started working with and put 2 songs out with recently because of the same issue. And I might even throw screen grabs in here so you all can see what I'm talking about because it's literally like, what the fuck? The dude, I sent him, he's changed the song title after we had agreed on what the song title was and put it up. He changed it again, which is getting in the way of some other things that I was doing with that very song title. Or with the very song. So it was an inconvenience, but it wasn't too big of an inconvenience. So after I sent him the messages about it, I was like, and I saw that he hadn't, responded or even he hadn't even looked at the messages yet. Because through the musical platform where I do my music and collaborate and put it out initially before it goes to the streaming services, you can see if someone has read your message or what have you. So I deleted them real quick before he got them. And it wasn't even real quick. It was like a few hours after I sent them. And he still had not seen them. So long story short, he had the same problem. He didn't know anything that I sent him, accused me of having an attitude, accused me of all this crazy shit, and then told me to be a fucking adult and he don't know what my fucking problem is. And I was like, whoa, blocked, what? No, I don't even know you. I'm not putting up with no extra drama, especially while I'm dealing with this. But I just threw that in there so you could in here so you could see, that this is a situation I've dealt with other people, and even recently. It's just like if you don't repeat, so if people want to know and they want to control things so much that if they don't get that, they kind of like freak out and go crazy. He thought I was calling him a bird, in the midst of trying to figure out what I was saying in those messages, that were deleted, because I sent a bird emoji in one of the messages that I sent to him in response, letting him know don't worry about it, and that's why I deleted it. And it's just crazy. So whatever. But anyway, this professor, was upset because this white woman she's a part of this group of people who have been tormenting my every existence, every day of my existence, the entirety of my college career at St. Louis University. She is a part of this group of students who's a part of my class who are, just like, so, I mean, they're all white, and they are very, except one is Latin, and they are very, but she's not technically with that particular group, but whatever. They're very standoffish with me. They act very rude with me. They act like, any time that I speak or say something to them that I'm an issue or I'm problematic or I'm, a stigma or something like that. And I know I'm trans, but like, I mean, look at me. Like, I mean, I know, you know, it is on video or whatever. It's not in person, but like I don't do anything to touch up my videos. Like this is me. So it's like I'm not a crazy looking. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like I'm coming up here looking like a clown. Hair color might be close, but not looking like a clown. So like, what are we talking about here? There's no way that you can sit here and say that I would look so crazy that people should be treating me like that. That's what people need to understand about that. That's why I'm happy that I'm saying this right now in a public forum outside of that with this institution. You know, I am constantly dealing with these people, talking shit about me under their breath, saying smart aleck shit when I am in class asking questions like, oh, he already said that, talking about the professor. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. This white chick who he calls Prof. I'm assuming that's her last name, she was sitting next to me. And when I asked him a question about something he was going over in class, she was like, he just said that, as in the professor had just answered that question or something, when he didn't. And even if he did, I asked a question about it. That means I still don't understand it. What's the problem? So, um, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like under my breath, oh my gosh. But I think I said it at about that volume level. And he was like, what was that, Lynn? So somehow you didn't catch this woman. Y'all know how it goes. He didn't hear anything she said, and she's sitting closer to him. She's sitting right next to me, and he's on this side of her, on the right side of her, just like she's on the right side of me. So somehow she's in between both of us. And you jumped over her head and heard what I said under my breath, but you didn't hear what she said under her breath. How is that the case? How did that happen? I mean, listen to me. I don't have a deep voice. You know what I'm saying? So like, what on? And then I was whispering. So like, I wasn't even whispering. I was like, I mumbled it under my breath. So like, what are we talking about here? Like, how is it that you didn't hear that? So we have a situation where a student is talking recklessly to me and provoking a response, and you somehow catch the reaction, but not the action that caused the causation. So it's so funny. And there was one more incident like that in his class, and I spoke with him after class that same day. And I was like, hey, I'm noticing people are disrespecting me in class. They're disrespecting you. I mean, I just don't appreciate it. And I just wanted to share that with you. There's some animosity here. I'm really sensing it's like a hostile environment. And maybe it was because I said hostile environment and he decided to start, getting defensive because, those are definitely key words and they were intentionally chosen, that need to be said in situations when you are making certain claims. I'll just leave it at that. So he sat there and disrespected, or excuse me, told me that I was disrespectful. I said, excuse me? So you're meeting what I'm telling you about this. I also was telling him about the dichotomy in the school and how most black women, every black woman I've spoken with, and there have been many, have decried this environment, this anti-black environment that sees them sitting in classes alone, students moving away from them, moving their desks away from them physically, like, not wanting to work with them. This same semester, me and a black woman were in a group with this white guy, and within a week or two, he asked to be removed from the group. So, it's insane because it's like you've got these people who will, you know, support the system that's already working against you as a black person trying to get your education. This professor, as you can tell by his name, is from Ghana. He's not from America originally. So this also is not lost on me, with the problems within the Black diaspora and a lot of people coming to this country and believing that Black Americans looking down upon us, believing that we are lesser than, and things like that. So it's just funny that here I am dealing with this. So after that, after he made that accusation that I was disrespectful, and I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, well, I asked you to repeat something in class today, and you didn't repeat what you said. And I think what I was saying in that moment was something about how exhaustive the problem was on the board or something, very harmless. It was. And we've all made comments like that. And because, I mean, this is a statistics class where you've got like one problem takes up the entire fucking board and you still ain't got enough space. It's crazy. It is exhaustive. But he didn't hear what I said yet again. He just wanted me to repeat it so that he could hear it, and then I guess whatever from there. And I was like, oh no, it's no matter. And he looked at me like I was crazy for a second, and then he just continued teaching. So after class, I spoke with him. Sorry. I spoke with him about the disrespect that I'm getting from people in class and that I perceive him getting. And as on the third, he tells me that he says, "Oh, thanks for that observation. By the way, I find you to be disrespectful." And when I asked you, I said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, you didn't repeat what you said earlier, and I asked you, and we had this conversation before." And I'm like, "You're not going to sit here and call me disrespectful because I'm not repeating something that I decided, yeah, it's not really necessary." You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't have to say to you something just because you want to know what it was that I said in that moment. If there was no indication that it would be something bad or negative or anything like that, then what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? If we have no history of me saying anything negative about you or to you or doing anything like that, being anything other than professional, then what are you talking about? Why are you sitting here on my case about me not repeating something? Like, I don't have to repeat shit to you. The fuck? So, you know, I told him, I said, you know what? This is your response to me when I talk to you about a hostile environment in your classroom and all this other stuff. Something that also would probably explain some of what you're seeing. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm not understanding. Like, what is that? And I was like, at this point, we need a mediator because I don't approve of this. Like, I don't appreciate this insidiousness that you're putting on me that I'm having to work against. Because at this point now, I'm having to work against and prove to you some innocence in a situation where I am completely innocent, and you're calling me guilty of doing something to you. I haven't done anything to you. I came to you for help, and this is what you're doing, bitch. Please. So obviously, I didn't say bitch, please, but what do you call it? I set up a meeting with the dean, white woman, blonde. Now, I will say she did call him out in the beginning because he said something about universal respect is universal, and there's a uniform or universal form of respect, yada yada yada. And he was like, no. She was like, no, that's not necessarily the case. Everybody's culture is different, and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, yeah, but um, he continued to by the throughout the meeting basically try to put this insidious motivation on me as to what is leading me in his class. And I'm just like, I participate in your class more than anyone else. And I have witnesses, mind you. Like, I've opened a bias investigation into this since the end of the conclusion of the semester, all kinds of stuff. But like, I participated in his class more than anyone else. I spoke in his class every day. You know what I'm saying? Yet he still gave me all of those points. You get certain quality points, and out of 9 or 12, he gave me 3. Obviously, as retaliation for me saying that I was going to report him. So it's just insane. So anyway, I did a grade appeal. They did not include any mention of any of the extra credit or anything that I mentioned in my grade appeal. Um, they didn't include any of that in the response to my grade appeal. So I'm just sitting here like, and then they're telling me that this is the end of the line, despite the fact that they skipped to the end of the line because one of the people who was supposed to be one of my steps was not present. She was on vacation. So they just skipped me all the way up to the end of the line and were like, okay, this is the only appeal you'll get. So they're really like running game over here. And so the dean of my school of social work, Dean Maynard, she is the one who finalized it and finalized the denial of me being able to take my final. Because basically what happened is, so these 2 white people I was grouped with, a male, or excuse me, I think it's a trans man. Maybe he's non-binary, but they clearly are presenting as masculine. And then a woman, both white. We had no issues the entire time with me running the show because that's what they fucking left me to do. I'm trying to get a good grade, and you all are not fucking present. You're not fucking taking initiative to do these things, so I am. You have no problem with it when I check in with you, so let's do it. But of course, that became an issue at the end. It was, oh, she's hogging this, that, and the third. So we had an issue at the end because um, our second project for the semester, they waited until the night before, which was the day after I was inducted into Alpha Phi Sigma. They waited until then to completely delete everything that I had put in the project. All of the animations, all of the slides that I did, they completely changed them and even rearrange things that didn't even need to be rearranged just because they wanted to say that they didn't, just because they didn't want to be stuck with anything that I did. And I was like, what? What is this? So I, let them know that this was very weird and unprofessional. I mean, I didn't say that part yet, but I was like, hey, you guys agreed when I touched base a week or 2 ago that you weren't going to touch this, that, and the third, and that everything was cool and all this other stuff. So like, and that these changes were okay. So like, or additions or whatever. So mind you, I made the slideshows, I designed them, I picked out the articles for us to study. I made a Google Drive folder for us to put all the information in. I did the prompts, like I did everything. I set up the meetings, facilitated the meetings, hosted the meetings. It's ridiculous. Oh, I needed some water. But so they delete the work. I had a contingency plan because I assumed I do prepare myself for situations that I think are going to go south just because I'm, expecting it. A lot of things just go poorly for me in a lot of situations because a lot of people don't like to be workable with me. Jealousy, discrimination, all kinds of shit. It could be whatever reason, but that's what I have to deal with. So I let them know that that's what I was going to do, that I was going to restore it and they can continue working on their slides and things like that. And they start arguing with me about me wanting to restore the changes that they made or that they deleted or the portions that they deleted. And I'm like, it's not really up for debate at this point. It's not even 15 hours before we're supposed to be presenting. And you're just now tuning in. You just now are adding your work. You're just now this, that, and the third. And now you want to delete my shit? What is that? And they tried to claim it was because they felt that they were going to lose points because this, that, and the third, and all this other stuff because it was too flashy and it was too this and it was too that. I will include the project and run through it real quick. I'm not going to actually introduce it and run through the topics and stuff. I'll do that in a later episode when I actually do break it down and just give you all the presentation that we did on my own. But what you're going to see whenever I insert it is I mean, it's clearly a very well done project. And they were, complaining about animations and this, that, and the third. Like, one of them says something about the computer thing. You're going to see the hands typing on the keyboard in the GIF that I put on the screen, and it's like, what are you talking about? Like, oh, it's distracting. It's distracting in an era when people are watching things on their phones, their tablets, their fucking smart TVs, if they even have a TV, their computers, their desktops and their laptops at the same time that they're playing a video game on the fucking, I don't know, maybe one of the PCs or the TV. Like, what? Like, stop. And a game on their phone. Like, stop. Like, just are watching videos with, like, dual screens, and there's like a game going on one side and like the actual video on the other side, and there's also some weird thing bouncing back and forth between the screen. It's like, y'all need to stop. Like, your generation is not going to sit here and tell me, my millennial ass, anything about something's too distracting. Like, what? So, there's that. So I restored it. They got up and we presented exactly what the hell I was presenting, because I got up there first and I plugged my computer in. And you could tell none of us wanted to be up there. Well, they didn't. And you could tell we didn't want to be up there together. You could tell there was some animosity. And what do you call it? We present, we go through, we do a very good job. I was very extensive I always covered the methods and the results sections, which are the most difficult sections of studies to do when you're looking at a study or you're looking at an article. The most extensive section that's going to be, have the most detail and the most information that you're going to have to write about or learn about is in the middle, or in the results in the method section. So that's going to tell you about the quantitative and the qualitative measures that they use to do the study. Did they send out surveys? Did they do interviews? What kinds of questions were on those surveys? What kinds of interviews did they do? Um, what kind of things that they go through? Well, that can sometimes be put in the limitations section. But sometimes it includes what things they went through to cover certain protections of vulnerable populations or considerations for their study subjects, emotional concerns of, possibly triggering some kind of, anxiety or PTSD or something like that. There are a whole bunch of things that go into it. But what do you call it? To keep this going, because it's going to be a pretty lengthy episode. And I might already have to go back and re-record some stuff. But so we present, and mind you, the day before, that night before, I emailed the professor. Oh, I forgot to let you know, I blocked them after they started arguing with me in text messages because I wasn't having it, not arguing with anybody. So I blocked them. And then I get this long novel of an email from one of them, um, um, who's also telling me that informing me that they want no further contact, the exact same way that I informed them at the conclusion of this long email. It's like, you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. You don't get to have it both ways. Like, you don't get to sit here and harass me past the point when I wanted further contact, and then use those exact same words to dictate to me that you want no further contact. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Am I not allowed to do what you just did? Not that I want to, because I really did want no further contact. So anyway, um, long story short, we all of us give our different opinions or sides to the professor. The professor acknowledges them and does not acknowledge me. Mind you, this is the same professor who's got an issue with me. So this further proves his bias. Let's see if the public can figure out if this man is biased or not, and if he's done things to prove his bias. So then, what I also will include in here is a screen grab of this man sitting up here conferring with these students about me. Because after the presentation, he basically said the exact same things that I forewarned him they were saying were the reasons that they took this out of the project. So he gave us the same critique, basically agreeing with them in their what they were worried about. So it's like, Really? You're gonna sit here and try to say my stuff is illegible, all this other stuff, you know? He had all these qualms with the project. Oh, some things were hard to read, it was illegible, and it was a little distracting. I'm just like, are you serious? Like, are you serious? I don't think he said the distracting part. I think one of the students said that because then, of course, once I asked them one question, the class one question, they all went in on the project and just like, oh, well, there's this and there's that, and this is distracting, and this is that. Oh, could you go a few pages back? Oh, yeah. Like, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I complimented every single one, and I'll include that as well. I have a clip of me complimenting because I got to the point where I had to start recording classes because it was getting so bad. And I have a clip of me, and if I don't, I literally complimented everyone. I was like, everybody is like, really good. Everybody did very well, like being the first people to go up there and present because we were last. It's like, it's always a big thing. It's always a very, a daunting prospect. So, I commend you all. And I was like, in the last group, y'all really killed it. I had to say it. But, and I don't even think there was a group of people who like me, but I have to give props where they're due. So here I am complimenting your project, and then you turn around and you say this about mine and try to embarrass me in front of this whole class. Somebody yelled, "Shut up." Oh, shut up. And I said, so who's shutting up? Oh, no, not you. But when I emailed the professor about that after class, oh, could you explain a little bit more about that? I'm not really certain of what you're talking about, even though he was sitting in the student seats watching the presentations, 3 seats behind her, and I was 10 seats away from her, 13 in the front of this in the front of the classroom, on the whole other side of the classroom. She was on the far end of the classroom by the window. So, you know, gaslighting, lying, being biased. I mean, it's all here. So if it wasn't already proven in all of that, he then responded to this woman in the group with me, sending a barrage of emails, supposed to be evidence of how horrible I was as a group member. Of course, apologizing to him for having to go through what he was going through with me because I CC'd them on every email after class because it was about the project and his critique of our presentation. So he ignores me, thanks, what's her name, for the messages and for all that she was doing, and condescendingly claims that he just wishes that I would understand that my colleagues are just trying to support me and they're just here for me and trying to see me do my best and something like that. And it's funny because it was after, coincidentally, ironically, after the girl who was sending him that information sent me and the other group partner, and I guess she didn't CC him, sent me and him or them this email mocking my credentials that I will put right here as well. So now you're mocking my credentials, you know, mocking the fact that I'm a legal assistant for a local law firm. And then after you send that message, the professor is thanking you for that. He's thanking you for, and commending you for just having my best interest at heart. She said some job I made up. So apparently I'm making my job up. Because, a black woman can't be a legal assistant, couldn't possibly. And definitely not a trans black woman. So, it is what it is. But so this happened. And then he never gave us a final date on I'll put screen grabs of that as well. There was never a date given for the final. So I didn't even know if we were going to have one. And he ended up having the final, and I found out about it the day before, but I was maybe 2 days before, but I was adamant that I be given extra time to prepare for the final because I was in the process of reporting him for bias and discrimination and improper disclosures and possible violation of f.b.a laws. in disclosing this information with these other students in this unprofessional way. And he shouldn't have done it anyway. So they ignored that, completely ignored the fact that he was retaliating against me, completely ignored the fact that he was discriminating against me, fostering a hostile environment, being biased, all kinds of shit. All of that, none of that, and the fact that I had to for days, and I'm still sending in shit. Um, a month later, just about. For the longest, I was sending in evidence, and I'm still sending in evidence of the situation and for the situation. So it's like I'm not understanding. I'm having to spend all of the time that I should be studying doing this for a test that we still don't have a date on, and I also have witnesses who can attest to that as well, along with just the evidence that I showed. So you're doing all of this, and then you're not even going to let me have an extension to get ready for this final in a class where I have a B. I would have had all A's and B's this semester as usual if it weren't for that. So I ended up failing this class because they wouldn't let me take the final. And I got a D. And that's a failing grade at this institution. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to replace the class with something else, or they're trying to make me take it again. I'm not taking this class again. But and that they're also going to extend that appeal process and give me the proper appeal process because I was not given the proper appeal process. So at this point, it's clear that they are retaliating against me because I told them I was going to sue. Once they informed me that they were not going to let me take the final, I let them know that I was going to sue. And I also have proof that the final was still open after it was supposed to have been closed, long after. So I think a matter of days after or something, I checked in one day when I was on my way somewhere. I just logged in real quick, and there it was. So I'm like, did he let other people take the test after the fact? What happened? So we're going to see what's going on. But I'm also missing my extra credit points. He did not give me all of the extra credit points that I was supposed to have gotten for doing work on the board, this complicated problem on the board, and also for doing going to this event. So I was supposed to have 6 extra credit points. And I don't even think he gave me more than 3. I think he just gave me 3. So, and he even agreed in the email when I mistakenly referred to it as 5 extra credit points and agreed to that 5. So how are you didn't even give me what you knew you should have given me at the bare minimum. So it's over at this point because now the institution is backing up this shit. How are you going to back up this man stealing grades from me that I earned? Even if it wouldn't have made a difference in raising my grade to an acceptable level, although I don't know that, I am owed the proper grades for the work that I did. So what? And this also proves bias and retaliation. So, it's just ridiculous. But I wanted to bring this to you guys because this is something I learned about in school. And I want you all to know that just because a Black professor is in the middle of all of this does not mean that this is not a perpetuation of anti-Blackness and white supremacy. Because what people fail to acknowledge is that Black cops, Black people in positions of power in these white spaces, Black faces in white spaces, um, they are they are they are oftentimes more aggressive than their white counterparts, for instance, because especially on their own communities and really on their own communities, really, because and just non-white communities, because they they feel the need to prove themselves more than the average Joe or Jane because they are not seen as equal to their peers because they are of that category of people, that demographic. So Black, for instance. The same thing happens with women. Women oftentimes have to be more aggressive when they're cops, when they're COs, because they have to, or when they uphold white supremacist norms outside of the law, because they are seen as weaker, the weaker sex, and more sympathetic and empathetic and what have you. So, and not even supposed to be in certain positions because this is the man's job and all this other stuff. So, it's not lost on me that that might be the trope that he falls into, unfortunately. This professor, Kitsia. But I also want to speak to what I've learned in school. So this semester, I was taking uh, white backlash in American politics. And it talks about white rage. One of the books that my professor and I agreed on, or excuse me, gushed over is White Rage by Dr. Carol Anderson. And I just loved it. I mean, I learned about her through a talk that she was giving at a university. And I was just so enamored. She was talking about white rage and how anytime we as Black people are successful or start to gain prosperity or success in a certain category, white people take notice and great issue, great umbrage to us just prospering. And it's pissy because it's like we have to deal with the backlash of that, that comes after that with that rage. We looked into Governor Maddox, Governor Lester Maddox. We looked into um, the governor of Alabama, the governor of Georgia, George Wallace. We looked into his background and how a lot of these people worked to they fed off of white rage to put themselves in power, just like Trump. And they did things like segregate, or excuse me, fight for segregation in schools and fight against integration and desegregation. And same thing when it came to restaurants and other places of public accommodation. And we talked about a lot of those cases that led up to the civil rights legislation with the Civil Rights Act of 1965 that passed legislation, or it was legislation that allowed for Black people and non-white people to, be equal civilly to each other or to their white counterparts in places of public accommodation and things like that. It made it very clear that in places of public accommodation, so like, public places, hospital, airport, um, library, you cannot be discriminated against for certain protected characteristics. So it's just crazy seeing, you know, this stuff play out today. With Trump, with white people voting him in, and a lot of non-white people voting against their own best interests. It's crazy seeing it unfold again, and it's crazy seeing how you know these same tools are being used: the education system, segregation, excuse me, white rage, black success, DEI. Tried to coin the term HEI, which is homogeneity, exclusion, and interdiction, which is, I feel like, the opposite of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's what they want. They want homogeneity. They want the same people. They want white people in these positions of power exclusively. And they want interdiction. They want to be able to, take what other people have that they don't feel that they should have. It's the same colonization that's been going on since the beginning of our interactions with them when they were just Europeans. So, it's just unfortunate, and this is not me saying all white people are racist or something, but I really want people to contend with the fact that, well, to acknowledge the fact that we have to contend with that reality. The fact that everything that we do, and it's just crazy because it's like, I mean, in a school, in a city with over, with about 50-50 white people and Black people and like, what, 3% Asian people, the school has over 1,000, I believe, Asian students as of within the past year. um, and just over 300 Black students, but well over 4,500 white students, and these are all undergraduate. So it's just crazy because it's like, because that's what I am. So, an undergraduate student. So it's just crazy because it's like, so what is going on with these demographics? And that's not even including the amount of international students, students who are labeled specifically international. That's without specifically counting them, you know? So it's just crazy to me because it's just like, we sit here and we say, oh, we want to reconcile for slavery. There's this Slavery Reconciliation History Memory Project that was working through s.l.u or with s.l.u to identify the enslaved people, the descendants of the enslaved people who were held here against their will by the university and forced to build the university and living in horrible conditions and all kinds of stuff. One of those families is the Wilson family. I don't know what Wilson family, but I know that I just had my Wilson family reunion yesterday. Yesterday, Saturday. So it's just crazy because it's just like, what are you talking about? Like, you all stopped this program, you dropped the ball with this program. So now people who might be descendants of enslaved people, of people you all enslaved, your university enslaved, might be sitting over here paying tuition to go to a school that their people built. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. And then I'm going through discrimination here. I'm going through the same type of treatment to a certain extent that my ancestors possibly went through at the same university. It's ridiculous. And they did go through it because my grandmother went here for a minute and she went through discrimination here. And she's not trans. So it's just crazy. But these institutions and these people who are running them, like, they lead with these things like, oh, we're so, you know, gracious and we're so giving and we're a Jesuit community giving back to the community, Jesuit institution giving back to the community. But how are you living up to Jesuit values? And this is how you're doing the students who are just trying to make a way for themselves and get an education. And this is how you're treating them. I've been sexually harassed. I've had faced attempted break-ins on campus. I have to my dorm. I have I had to move because of it. I have been stalked, harassed, spit at, pushed, assaulted multiple times, almost every time by a white female student. I think it was every time. Kicked out of class for telling a white female student, that I didn't appreciate how she said something to me. And that's literally what I said. Like, that's exactly what I said. What I said exactly verbatim is, ma'am, I don't appreciate how you just spoke with me or what you just said to me. How you said what you just said to me. And that got me kicked out of class. After I asked the teacher to address it, and she decided that it was not worth it in the moment. So, and I told her that I was distracted at that point by the interaction. And I didn't feel like I could continue learning in this moment without addressing it. And she didn't care. So, these are the things that people do. These are the things that we go through, and we ask these questions about why Black people are not in higher education. Because when we get here, you all make it a living hell for us. There's a white woman who has confirmed she's in the same society as me that I was inducted into. And she's been there. And she confirmed that I was going through what I was going through, that she has heard these people um, talking shit about me. She said, and at first she started studying me for a while because she was trying to figure out what was I doing? Was I causing this to happen? And she very quickly realized, well, I don't know how quickly, but she realized that these people just hated me. And it was exacerbated when I came in looking a certain way, like when I came in dressed to the nines, had my eyeliner on the bottom too, and heels on, doing a presentation or something, it really got revved up. So amped up. So it's just crazy because it's just like now I've got a white woman, blonde hair, blue eyes. She is in my same society and she's confirming. You know what I'm saying? Exactly what I'm saying. So it's just crazy. And now she's scared because she wants to continue her schooling. She just graduated, but she wants to come back. And, you know, she's scared to participate because she doesn't want any backlash from the university and she sees how they're doing me. And I said, I can't really blame you, even though I do feel some kind of way about that, but I can't really blame her. So, it's just insane. It's insane. But these are the types of things that we deal with. And bitch ass hoes, anybody in this motherfucking comment section, bitch, just know I'm ready for you. I hope you made it to this point in the video because I'm so ready for you. Because I know a lot of you all like to come at me and come at us when we speak about our experiences and you like to decry them. And it reminds me of the shit that pissed me off this morning when I logged into Facebook and I saw that Fox had a post of a family, a black family of 14 or 15 family members who were homeless now because of the tornado. And every white person in the comment section almost is going in about pick yourself up by your bootstraps and why is it that many people living in a house anyway and they all look able-bodied to me and I lived in my car and what I had to do was. But this is what we deal with. I don't see nobody saying nothing like that to these white people in Appalachia or anything like that. None of them who got hit with hurricanes and bad weather, natural disaster here and there. Nobody say anything about that. But when it's us, it's the problem. And of course, it's a black family. If it was a white family, they would never have said that. You know that. There are white families. You're not going to tell me that Fox only posted a black family. They've posted other families. So I just took pictures, and that's what I be doing, and I encourage you all to do it too. Document it. Just document it. Shit, you might get somebody fired one day, discovered, whatever the case is, but you just document it so that you can know we all have case files on you hoes. You racist ass bitches, we've got case files on you. That's what you got to do. Because it's just like, they don't seem to understand what's up. And we deal with this on a regular basis. Every day we have to deal with this, and they continue to deny us reparations. Yet every day we have to deal with literal hell based on our race and the fact that we were enslaved by this country. Everybody else can't forget it, but we gotta forget it, and forgive it with no reparations. But I'm gonna leave it at this. I just wanted to let you all know that it is very difficult. I'm not gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at this. The fact that I want you all to know how difficult it is to contend with that reality as a black person. It's very hard out here, y'all. It's very difficult to not see white people as a whole a certain way when you kind of need to for your safety. You know what I'm saying? Like, to protect myself, I can't trust a lot of white people. And honestly, I don't know which ones to trust. I don't know which white people to trust. I don't know which white people to be around, to be friends with. I don't know which white people to, date. I don't know. And that's why I'm not doing it. I don't know which, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what to do. So it's like at this point, it's just crazy because it's like I'm in jeopardy every time I think I get close to somebody. It's like they be coming around just to learn stuff so they could take it back and disseminate and irritate, you know? Ain't nobody got time. So I just want you all to know that, if you see black people out here saying that they're, this, that, and the third with white people, have a little bit more empathy if you feel like you can. If you don't, then fuck it. But, try to have an understanding of what people are going through because it's like you all have power and we have anti-blackness and discrimination and shit and pro-whiteness. That's the difference. You know what I'm saying? We don't have power. So you not liking us, it doesn't, or excuse me, us not liking you, it doesn't affect your livelihood. It doesn't affect your actual life. You know, you're not going to lose your life because a black person don't like you for the most part. Obviously, there are exceptions, but it's just insane. It's like, but we will lose our lives if a white person decides they don't like us and they want to call the police and lie about us or do any number of things. We can lose our lives in that moment. If they want to kill us, it's not guaranteed that they will go to jail and go to prison and be sentenced reasonably. So, I mean, it's just insane. It's like, I mean, there's no comparison. You can't compare black people, whatever. So it's just very difficult because, you know, I'm trying to remain the impartial person who I am, but I don't understand what else I'm going to be able to do to perpetuate that going forward if I continue to run into these issues. Because it's like everywhere I turn, I'm dealing with this. And I know I'm not the only one. And I want to know, I pose this to you, white people. How much am I supposed to put up with before I say, okay, well, you know what? I need to protect myself. You all getting cut off. Is there a reasonable point at which you all get cut off? Like, I don't know. Like, what's the situation? What do we do about that? Because like, I don't like, you know what I'm saying? You all have power. So being around you is dangerous. You know what I'm saying? It is very dangerous. I need you all to understand that being around you all is very dangerous to the psyche, to the emotional health, the mental, you know, the physical. As a result, it is very dangerous. So I don't know. I'm gonna leave it at that.